Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Hi everybody and welcome to The Garage, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Peter Clayton's behind the camera, grasping for his glass of wine.
Cheers.
Yes, well, it's nothing special. Talking about special, congratulations to the Hahndorf Hill Winery. Now, I have never heard of the Hahndorf Hill Winery. Have you, Pete?
Yeah, I've been up there, yes.
Hahndorf Hill Winery, okay. Well, they've just taken out a huge international award in Germany, crowned the best wine from Australia in open competition. It's the Frankfurt International Wine Show. Wow, you guys should be congratulated. That's wonderful. I hope local media makes a big thing of that. That lovely bloke who was photographed standing on the freeway here in Adelaide, that's just sort of up the hill from us here at Glen Osmond, holding up a sign that just said, Happy Easter. Happy Easter. Bless you. And I hope everyone did have a happy Easter. Anyway, I don't know who that guy is, but I would vote for you if you were running and not standing. Well, if you're running, you may as well stand. Why not? Or if you're standing, you may as well run. Speaking of voting, we can, as of today, put in one of those early votes. Something like 9 million people are going to do that. Well, let's see what happens. Apparently they can't count those early votes until the polls close on the 3rd of May. Anyway, I mean, if they did, they'd get a hell of a head start. You'd know what was going on by 9 o'clock, I would think. Plenty of those head-to-head debates going on at the moment. They're good, but I just don't know that we learn a lot. What happened to that worm? Pete, you remember the worm that Channel 9 used to have? They would have a debate.
Yes.
And everyone was sort of in the audience wired up and they'd turn a knob or something. And
Yes, that's right. That was good.
yeah, you'd see what the feeling was in the room. It was entertaining too. Much has been made in these debates of trying to wedge both Liberal and Labor over Donald Trump. Any affection or support for the American president is obviously seen as a significant negative, to which I say rubbish. It's a fine line, because to be able to deal with him, negotiate with him, is seen as a positive. In fact, it's essential. What you're seeing playing out is bleeding obvious. We should not politicise and prejudice this very important relationship with America. But it's clear from the news of the day that Trump is chatting with, warmly welcoming, right-wing European and South American leaders to talk improved trade arrangements. Now that's something that Peter Dutton could point out. He is much more likely to get on with President Trump than the left-wing socialist Anthony Albanese. And that must be a positive. Why doesn't he say it? Why can't he say it? The World Climate Conference, lordy, is slated for Adelaide. Well, when I say slated, we're out there lobbying, spending money to get it. Former Lord Mayor of Adelaide, Martin Hazy, is in charge. The decision will be made in November. We want it here apparently in 2026. God help us. God help us. In November anyway, they will decide on the location. It is the Olympic Games of crap. Why do we want the COP? COP. It's an acronym for Conference of Parties. It's a United Nations idea. But party they do. Oh, yes, I suppose that's why they want it for our city. Out there spending money, filling hotel rooms, that sort of thing. 47,000 hypocrites would jet in to lecture us on pollution and global warming. My God, what a joke. They must think we're stupid. Thousands of people flying around the world, first class, well, mostly in private jets, polluting the world to save it, while they make millions. Remember, the climate industry is worth trillions. In fact, I'll give you the exact figure. It's 1.6 trillion US dollars, to be exact. That's just in the last 12 months. They're not stupid, ladies and gentlemen. We are. I think it's AGL in their television ads touting renewables. Everyone is turning to renewables. No. People are buying electric cars. They are the future. Really? You are, like the Labour government, lying. It's that simple. You've made a decision, and now you're having to try and make it work. Why would people embrace your view of the world when you misrepresent the truth? Renewables are 30%, this is lived experience, 30% more expensive. That's the lived experience of the last 3 years. You should be ashamed of yourselves. If we don't get rid of this government, we deserve everything that is coming at us like a tsunami. We can't be that stupid. Yet the polls say it's close. In fact, Labour 2 to 3 points ahead. I just can't believe that. I can't believe that of my fellow Australians. I really can't. The billions spent on the state's shelved green hydrogen plant. Nobody talks too much about that. Or the Twiggy Forest green hydrogen plant. No one talks much about that either. Gone. The thing is a con. A glittering example of what is not the future. But they will try to sweep their failure under the carpet. We, in the court of public opinion, will not let them. What a waste of public money. Green be buggered. Stupid? I wonder if we had a political party called Stupid, would people vote for it? Pete? Probably?
Well,
maybe?
I think ALP, the Labor Party, could sort of
fit in there somewhere.
Category.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of stupid, Canada bans Vegemite. You would have seen this in the last week or so. What rubbish. Added vitamins or riboflavins, vitamin B or something?
B12.
B12? Apparently you can't add vitamins to food in Canada. You see, Canada has gone woke. Very, very much woke. But a huge backlash has seen it, Vegemite, back in the supermarkets. I should think so. A bit of common sense. The Greens have taken a rest from wanting to save the world as we know it, to focus on our children's school lunch. They want to spend, of our money, $11.6 billion. Gee, that's quite a lunch. 11.6 billion on free school lunches. Well, firstly, nothing is free. Give me a break. And my having been through most of the parenting cycle in my life, parents have kids. We pack them off to school. And yes, you're expected to pack a school lunch for them as well. Is that so extraordinary? Do people in Australia really want the government to pay for their children's school lunch? Make no mistake, the Labor Party has taken its policy on negative gearing and capital gains tax concessions to two elections in the past. Abolishing them, even if they say they won't, is deep in their political DNA. I am sure they have a plan to have the Greens insist, if they get back, that it happens. So they can say that technically they didn't break their word. Look, just look at Labor's history. Private school fees were tax deductible. Private health insurance was tax deductible. They're socialists, for God's sake. Of course they don't want us to be self-reliant. All these deductions and incentives were put in place by various Liberal governments going back as far as Menzies. Slowly, with every Labor government, they have disappeared. And they can't deny that. Give people an incentive to look after themselves. It is much cheaper for the government to do that. But they can't do that. Because it's not their ideology. What we probably need here in Australia, I've been thinking about this. What we probably need is a freewheeling, innovative, truly free enterprise, free thinking sort of approach. Reward and incentive for all. We need productivity. I like the idea of Peter Dutton. Don't like all his ideas, but I like the idea of giving a boost to small business. That's apart from the $30,000 instant tax rebate. You can go out there and buy a ute, or you can buy some thing for your business, and it's instantly deductible. Not written off over time, instantly deductible. On the weekend, he announced a policy to create 150,000 new small businesses. Wow, 150,000 new small businesses with very, really generous tax incentives. Which has got me thinking, even at my age, there are things that I might like to try. Pete, I'll bet there's a business in there that you'd try if there were incentives to go out there. You start a small business, you start employing people. This is how you do it. If given the incentive, just think how people who were incentivized could turbocharge the economy. What it could do for productivity. But Peter, without pushing the argument, how about seizing the moment? Grasping the nettle? Mixed metaphors, if you ever heard one. Anyway, while I'm on a roll, get rid of the red tape, the regulations, the industrial regulations, for God's sake. The brake that successive Labor governments have put on small business at the behest of the trade union movement. Why not get rid of all of that while you're at it? Maybe you just don't want to frighten the horses, I don't know. But, you know, I don't know what my philosophy is, really. I don't know. If you work, you eat. The harder you work, the better you eat. That's sort of my ethic. Some would say that's the law of the jungle. But hey, that's what got us here in the first place. unless you don't believe in evolution. There's no free lunch in the jungle. Now, I know somebody's got to contact me in the message department here on Facebook with this posting that comes up on a Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock. I know somebody's going to come in with a comment. Everything is free in the jungle. Yeah. But in the jungle, courage is the currency. Survival is the reward. Political courage in the political jungle is what we need. And this, from Labor, is a worry, in my opinion. They want to enshrine penalty rates. Take from the individual the right to decide for him or herself. For example, this is what it's about. Do I want to relinquish penalty rates in exchange for a 25% wage rise? 25% wage rise? I would say overwhelmingly yes. But my real problem is that they, Labor, don't want to give me the right to decide for myself. It's that simple. Freedom. You know, on election day you're voting, I would say, for freedom. We're here with the best wishes of the right.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
Rising Sun Inn, 60 Bridge Street at Kensington. Their telephone number, and it's always a good idea to ring and book. You should do that. 8333-0721. I love it, not only because of its atmosphere and its age. 1845 it was built. Beautiful handmade bricks. I love it because it's in suburbia, really. The parking is easy. You don't have to, they've got their own parking space, but it's easy. Grant and Jackie will really look after you. The Rising Sun Inn, regularly chosen as the best pub or inn in South Australia. And having been built, as I say, in 1845, this is 2025, this is a big year for them. And my other sponsor, Jim Elder Fine Art Gallery in Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. Now he's just waiting for the election to be over, and then the catalogues will go out with what's going to be a really bumper big first auction of the year, art auction. That's coming up. I'll have an opportunity to talk to you about that. Not on Friday, this coming Friday, because that is Anzac Day. And we're not doing a show on Anzac Day. We didn't do one on Good Friday, but we will be back the day before Election Day, which is going to be an interesting... I'll try and pack that with lots of interesting guests. Anyway, Jim Elder, 106 and 110 Melbourne Street, North Adelaide. Beautiful buildings. You can talk to Jim or his lovely wife Helen on 08 if you're out of town. And God knows where this program goes. It goes all over the world on Facebook and on the postings that Andy Martin puts out, which you can take just the audio of this Facebook posting. It goes out on all of those, what do you call them, Pete? Are they venues or platforms? Anyway, wherever you get your podcasts from, you'll be able to Google the Court of Public Opinion. Jeremy Cordeaux's Court of Public Opinion. Anyway, Jim is inviting people. It won't be this first auction, of course, but he has 4 a year. You can call 8267-2869. He's inviting people to submit notable paintings for the first, well, not the first, but certainly the second, third, fourth, and I think he's going to throw in a fifth this year, actually. Jim Elder, obligation-free, cost-free, he'll appraise any painting that you have some questions about. Water. Water. I must say that we've had a few wet days or rainy days here in Adelaide. The seasons are quite clearly defined in South Australia. Within a week or two of autumn, we see the leaves turning. And I must say that walking around the garden the other day, jungle, actually, I got to do some work out there. But anyway, the Manchurian pears are so beautiful. These beautiful, beautiful trees, ornamental pears, orange, red, beautiful colour. It just livens up the place no end. I love it. I just walk around and wonder. Beautiful. But in the outback, it's a bit different. Water is coming down from Queensland. Water, twice as much water as in Sydney Harbour. Twice as much, flowing into the centre of Australia. A little town of Inaminka, you may have been there. It's a beautiful little town. The Cooper River bringing incredible life to the parched outback. Really amazing sights to see. Lake Eyre will be a sea of life bursting with nature. The far north of South Australia, however, an amazing contrast to the drought down here. Well, it's a bit broken at the moment, but we need a lot more rain down here. Nature in all her brutal, unpredictable wonder. And the life, I think there are several million pelicans somehow know that Lake Eyre is in flood, and they move on in. They move on in. It's a sight. Amazing. Lots of damage, however, and destruction inflicted upon the good people of the outback as the waters move down. Our thoughts are with you. You've been through it before. What else was I looking at? Oh yes, I remember. Harvard University, the oldest and richest of the Ivy League universities in the United States, has been told by the White House to change its ways or have the billions of taxpayer dollars withdrawn. President Trump says, you want the money, you will stop the woke. All that inclusive nonsense. Take the activists and protesters off campus. He wants Harvard to stop the anti-Jewish American protest, the anti-Israel, pro-Palestine stuff, also their left-wing employment policy or philosophy, which turns this august place of higher learning into a place of communist indoctrination. I don't think Trump is exaggerating. Trump is right. He says, do it my way or you don't get the money. Most other universities have agreed because most of them have the same problem. Why not Harvard? Now, they had the same problem in England, you might remember. Oxford and Cambridge. Nothing was done until a whole group of academics, there was, let me think, there was Donald McLean, there was a guy called Anthony Burgess, Kim Philby, there was another one, Anthony Blunt. And there were more, there were lots more of them. They were exposed as Soviet spies, traitors, with the mission to recruit others and, of course, preach disruption and communism and revolution. Now, the Brits let this happen under the guise of academic freedom. You have to stop this madness or it takes over. I was talking to you last week about the trade union movement here in Australia, set up to fight for the worker. From fighting the big end of town and its excesses and privileges, they became the big end of town. All because we let it happen. Peter Dutton says if elected he will stop this indoctrination. He will take the indoctrination out of education, which I am 100% behind.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.
This indoctrination, this whole left-wing thing in places of learning, has been put in place by successive Labor governments. Just exactly the same thing has happened at the ABC. But I tell you what, Peter, one hell of a job though. Take the case of the university student who lost marks after failing to include an acknowledgement of country. No, I'm sorry, an enthusiastic welcome to country in one of her final assessments. I'm paying $60,000 for this degree, she said, just weeks away from graduation. A university student claims she was marked down on a key part of her course for not including this nonsense. Acknowledgement to country. It was part of her diversity, crime and justice course at the University of the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. Just 2 weeks from graduation, cost us $60,000. This sort of woke nonsense has got to go from our schools and universities, for God's sake. But wait, there's more. The latest acknowledgement of country furor comes from what has been called Australia's wokest university. They have been forced to scrap their diversity and mandatory, let me get this right, Manawari, I think that's the way you say it, Manawari course that labelled non-Indigenous students as visitors and settlers. The controversial module at Sydney's Macquarie University made headlines last week when a student revealed that she was required to take a class which called her a guest in her own country, despite being born and raised in Australia, right here. These academics have got to be rooted out. As I said last week, Peter Dutton, good luck. We'll see how Donald Trump goes because, you know, he's got the same problem. Pete, have I got any more time?
Yeah.
Okay. Oxford and Cambridge, I just mentioned, Oxford and Cambridge University have sensibly gotten out of the Russian spy business. I think. I think. That's not the story. They have created a hub of entrepreneurs and innovators. Now, I'm told investment is flowing in from all over the world to harness the brains, the intelligence, the inventiveness of some of the most brilliant students in the world. Wow. Now, we should be doing, Peter Dutton, maybe this might feed its way back to you if you haven't seen it already. We should be doing that very thing here. Universities cost us, the taxpayer, a great deal of money. Yeah, there's foreign students and that sort of thing, which alleviates the problem to some degree. But it costs a lot of money. It's perfectly reasonable that we should be making money from that investment. Harness it. They will prosper. We will prosper. Let's use these university spin-out or spin-off companies to create wealth for everybody. Not all ventures will be winners, successful, but a good percentage of them will, I guarantee you. That's the future. Harness this. Why don't we think about things like this? Just think of all the money we spend on higher education, higher learning. Why aren't we getting a dividend from advanced education? Yeah, I know they'll graduate and they'll become successful and pay their taxes and all of that. But just think, education, technology, engineering, chemistry, space technology, health, defence. Can you imagine the potential that we have in our universities that could be put to commercial use to benefit the community and the country? They're doing it in Oxford and Cambridge. Why don't we do it here? And I'll just leave you with this. Biological women are... biological women are... Trans women are not. Women.
I love it.
Oh, well, I thought to myself when I heard it, gee, that's a revelation. Somebody took that to the English High Court, who came down with that decision. Who would have thought otherwise?
The woke people.
I don't understand the world they're trying to create. Don't forget Anzac Day. Not that I can blow my own bugle, but it's a lovely bugle with a rising sun on it. I love it. Ceremonial trumpet. Apparently there's a very famous club in New South Wales. They are quite famous for their two-up, because the only time you can play two-up, what the hell's wrong with two-up? It's illegal every day except Anzac Day. Anyway, this particular club has banned it because it gets unruly. God help us. Now what I've got to do, as quickly as, give you a couple of dates. Let me know if the little red light blinks, Pete. The battery's dying. You see, there was a time when we just ran out of film, but we ran out of battery. Okay, it's April the 22nd. Glenn Campbell, American Grammy Award-winning country pop singer. By the time I get to Phoenix, Wichita lineman, rhinestone cowboy. He also did a lovely version of Listen to the Radio as well. Session guitarist for the Beach Boys, Elvis Presley, the Monkees, Phil Spector. Television personality as well. Actor, True Grit. Born in Delight, Arkansas. He died in 2017, but he was born in 1936. Henry Royce, English industrialist and automobile founder, Rolls-Royce, dies at the age of 70 on this day in 1933. Rolls had died as a very young man. I think it was an aircraft crash he was involved in. Robert Oppenheimer, American theoretical physicist, known as the father of the atomic bomb, the Manhattan Project. Born in New York City, he died in 1967, but he was born on this day in 1904. The Battle of Berlin. Upon being informed that a planned counterattack never happened, Adolf Hitler flies into a rage and denounces the German army and concedes World War II is lost. 1945. Yeah. Eddie Albert. Happy birthday, Eddie. Born 1906. Roman holiday. Escape to Witch Mountain, Green Acres, Colombo. He died in 2005. God, Eddie Albert was 99 years old. What a good life, well lived. Building begins on the Bastille Fortress in Paris in 1370. Richard Nixon, American politician, 37th US President, Republican, dies of a stroke at 81 in 1994. the first human eye transplant. I never knew we'd had a human eye transplant. Did they just do one eye, Pete, or two?
Whatever you need, I think.
But what happens if... Never mind, we won't do it. Never mind. First human eye transplant performed in this day way back in 1969. The Paris... Oh, God help us. The Paris Agreement on Climate Change is signed in New York, binding 195 nations to an increase in global average temperature to less than 2 degrees centigrade. How would you ever know? The temperature goes up and down by 2 degrees and you're supposed to know? For God's sake, how stupid. Yeah. However, they didn't like the no less than 2%. They decided to limit it to an increase of nothing more than 1.5, which is even harder to notice. A lot of nonsense. Sidney Nolan, Australian painter and illustrator, born in Carlton in Victoria, died in 92, born this day in 1917. Alan Bond, Australian businessman and yachting syndicate owner, America's Cup winner, 83, born London, England. Died 2015, born 1938 on this day. And if it's your birthday, happy birthday. I hope it's been a wonderful, wonderful day. Now, we'll be back next Tuesday morning at 9 o'clock with another posting on Facebook of the Court of Public Opinion from the garage. And we will be back that same week, just before the election, that Saturday election day, which is what, Pete, the 22nd? Election is the 23rd. Yeah, 3rd of May. Yeah,
so 2nd of May you'll be back on the Friday.
So we'll be back on Friday around the dining room table with lots of interesting guests, and we will be unashamedly political. Well, that's the time, isn't it? We'll enjoy that. And you can ring us as well if you'd like. Thank you very much for viewing the show. The Court of Public Opinion here in the garage. Peter Clayton and I will be back. I'm Jeremy Cordeaux. Believe in yourself, and goodbye for now.
Are you a podcaster? Maybe you've got that big idea and you're looking for a network to join. The multi-award-winning Ozcast network can get your content to eyes and ears all over the world. Join now for the first month free, and you could be featuring this sound at the beginning of your podcast.
Ozcast.
Simply head to ozcastnetwork.com for details.